we are taping this on the day after news broke about Trevor Bauer and baseballs being confiscated by the league and looked at for a foreign substance and all that sort of stuff. Since I do have two pitchers, I want to start with you, Trevor May, on this. I read an article from Saris in The Athletic who quoted a player development guy in the offseason saying that benefits of a foreign substance on a baseball are, quote, better than steroids. What are we looking at here?
I can't even begin to explain how ridiculous that statement is. I you know what? I totally get it, gripping the ball. I know what a day feels like when it's like, 72 degrees. You have the perfect amount of moisture on your hand, and the ball doesn't feel like it's been just sitting in baby powder for the last 3 days. How good that is, and how big of a difference it is. But the whole steroid thing, I mean, like, that was a recovery. That was playing every day. That was feeling like $1 million every morning when you woke up, which is definitely not the case anymore. And so it's just, I think this is just this might be a little bit of a hot take. I think that the obsession with talking about this currently feels very like people really like drama. And it's being turned in this gigantic issue when it's not a gigantic issue. It's like, it's hard to really get into the nuts and bolts because there is a very explicit rule about foreign substances being used to, quote unquote, doctor a baseball. Now, what that means is just wildly shrouded in gray area. And like, we have rosin, right? We have something that technically putting rosin on a baseball is putting something that's not already on it onto it. So that is a thing. I think there needs to be because everyone talks about who does what and how far is too far and whatever. I think we're better off finding some sort of standardization because it's just chasing guys down one at a time is not going to be a very effective way to handle something like this. But in terms of the benefits and myself, I don't have a ton of experience, but in terms of the benefits, and anyone I've ever known who ever seen or played with that had used anything or prepped their hand or put sunscreen on or whatever it was, didn't have a drastic change in quote unquote stuff. Right. They just didn't. I don't think the number increase is trying to get, well, people say like having increased spin rate is like people taking steroids. No, increased spin rate doesn't inherently make you an insanely good pitcher. Spin rate is an indicator of how sharp a pitch might break or how well it might defy gravity for carry or just how well it does the movement that it does. But other than that, it's just, that's the value of that number. So it's kind of a lot of stuff that isn't correlated the way that people think it is being thrown out there as if it's like this crazy thing, and it just isn't. It's a little eye rolling to me at times, just how big it's being made.
All right. Well, that same article, though, it said, quoted an unnamed coach with experience in several major league organizations saying, quote, almost everyone is using something, Jake. I mean, it is,
including spit on your hand, including licking your fingers. It's the same exact thing. That's what people are trying to, they get that feeling of being able to grip a ball. Like, really.
So is this just baseball, Jake?
Everyone I've ever talked to.
Looking for something that's not there?
So I think it's interesting that like this is the emphasis now, but like, what was it, a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago? Like, we were saying like the balls have changed and nothing ever really got put out there with that. And now we're focused on this. We're not going to, we're going to forget about how pretty much from 16 on, the balls kept getting tighter and going further. And the composition of the balls didn't change, but the massive amounts of home runs that were being hit and the what was it? The big league ball flies 50 feet further than the AAA ball, whatever it may be. Like, we never got answers when it came to that, but yet everybody in the league knew something had changed. But what could we do about it? Like, it's almost like one of those things. Yeah. Like there was nothing for players to do. But like from a stuff standpoint, like watch any game. When the new ball gets thrown to a pitcher, what's the first thing that they do? They do this to the ball. You're taking off the slickness of the ball because they're rubbed in, what is it? Mississippi River mud. Yeah, exactly. So when those balls are rubbed, exactly, you don't know when they're rubbed. So if they sit for a while, they become very chalky and very slick. So every pitcher that gets it is trying to get that off. So from my standpoint, I would rather have an unrubbed ball than a rubbed up ball. So like maybe we stop rubbing up baseballs, see if that makes a big difference on stuff, because that's the problem is you get them and they got this chalkiness on it. You just take it and you wipe it off and then you go from there. So if that's your first move, why don't we eliminate that step and just quit putting mud on the balls and see what it does? But I think too, like, how they do in Japan, like there's a tackiness on the ball just to give it a little grip out of the package. I don't know why like we couldn't translate that to over here, give it a try. Like we're so this is another soapbox statement as well too. We're so into trying new things now in Major League Baseball but yet we're against trying anything with the baseball or anything that we've been complaining about for years. But we'll try a guy on second base in extra innings. We'll try this, we'll try that, but we won't try anything like when it comes to a simple step of not rubbing up a baseball. Or here, we haven't exactly found something that would make a baseball feel better. But yet Japan's been doing this for how many years? Like, can we make a phone call? Can we make a joint
hey, you guys
joint agreement? Like, hey, can we partner together, whatever it may be, and everything like that. But it's just it's a very weird thing. And everybody, like every position player, like has pine tar in their glove because they don't want the ball to slip out. So you have infielders, you have outfielders, you have catchers, you have sticky spray. People use sticky spray on their gloves. Like they don't want the ball flying. First basemen have it in their glove because they don't want to lose the ball on picks and whatever it may be. Like the amount of people who could put a substance on the ball if it's being subjectively tested, like I don't really understand how you could come to a full-on conclusion that it's just the pitcher doing it.
You could jam a guy and hit the pine tar on their bat, and now it's got a huge spot of pine tar on it. What if they're testing that one? And it's just like, oh, that one moved weird. It happened to me yesterday. I got a broken bat, got it back, and it was hit some pine tar, and it had a big spot of pine tar, and I threw it out. Because I'm like, I don't want to throw this. Like, it just think about that this way. Everyone's trying to find a comfort level. You want to be on the mound. You want to feel comfortable. You're like, all right, we're mechanically, our shoes we need our shoes tied tight. We need everything. You're like, you don't want anything out of whack. Ball's the same way. So you're like, I want to be able to know that I can grip these laces and that when I throw the pitch I want to throw, it's going to go where I intend it to go. And the same thing when a hitter comes, you see guys with it caked as far as it can be on. There's guys that use a little bit. They just want to feel the bat in their hand like it's an extension of their body. We want the ball to feel like an extension of our body. And that is the goal. If that makes like why we rub the balls down, why we're always like adjusting in our hand or like digging it in or whatever. We're always just trying to get to where that where we're gripping, where our grip feels like it's supposed to. And that's the thing. And like in my head, when I think about those things, like why anyone does things, why I do all the stuff I do whenever I'm touching a ball and I just grab it out of the ball and throw it, because they're going to be different. And like you said, when balls are rubbed up, and a lot of people don't know this, it's usually, it's the same guys for every team, and they're rubbing them up. They do it before the game, and it's usually put into a big bag, right, for the game. The balls at the bottom, as they dry, that chalkiness comes off a little bit, and the balls at the bottom get chalkier and chalkier and chalkier because it sifts to the bottom. So like when you're getting towards the bottom of a bag, you only use half a bag and use the bag again the next day, those might be more chalky. If you're in Arizona or if you're in Florida, those are two different places where there's 5% humidity and 90% humidity. The amount of moisture, like when it feels damp with that Mississippi mud, then it just feels like there's mud on it, or it feels like a cue ball. So like, there's just no way, and they do the humidor, I get that. There's just no way to make the balls feel standard because of nature. So,
well, and there also isn't a exact amount that they put on each ball. Like the rubbing application, there's a picture of baseballs that says not enough,
look like this,
not enough, perfect, too much, and you're supposed to aim for the middle. So like, there's no, each ball isn't like, you don't use the exact same amount on each ball. It's literally look at this picture and say, get to as close as this as you can. We realize there's going to be some over here and somewhere here, but we're shooting for in the middle. So like the consistency is not there again, like something you would think would have been figured out by now of, all right, here's a machine that puts the exact same amount on each ball and whatever, maybe, you know, there's a lot of things of chance in this game that can be solved. I would think relatively quickly, but we just haven't, like maybe we're looking too hard at it instead of just simplifying things.